I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall I call the roll? If there's some corrections to the agenda, at what point do we do that?
After I call the roll.
Okay.
Nikki Bender?
Here.
Nikki Martin?
Here.
Joy Sellers?
Here.
Kathy Aldency?
Here.
Patrick Sellers?
Here.
Thank you.
Correction. Can I do it now?
I guess.
Okay.
And would you, Mike, can she do?
Sure.
No, just corrections to the agenda?
Right.
Okay. November 4th, Town Board Special Meeting.
Yeah, I changed that on
Regular
mine.
Did you?
meeting.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's regular.
Yep.
And then one other one, it's minor, but shall met on
That
Monday?
I changed too,
Shall
I saw
meet?
that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, that's all. I just thought,
That's why
I
you
know-
have everybody looking at it before it goes out.
Well, I just didn't think you wanted.
You're with the program, Barbara.
That's correct. Okay, next thing is number.
Okay, all right, number 4, we need approval of minutes for the November 4th, 2013 Town Board regular meeting. So I need a motion to approve before we can have any discussion.
I motion to approve the minutes of November 4th, 2013 Town Board regular meeting.
Second. Question, what does UNK mean under
Unknown.
Unknown.
unknown? Okay.
Barbara, on the bottom, certain is spelled wrong.
What did you say?
On the bottom of the minutes,
What
the
page? First page or second page?
first page,
What's spelled wrong?
under supervisor's report, he will adjust Sir Train.
Oh, certain, thank you.
You're welcome.
Spelled correctly in mine.
No, that's the other one.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's certain.
Spell check
Yeah,
that would've
that
come
was,
up.
yep. Call and voice vote.
Yep, we're gonna call a voice vote. Are there any more questions on approval of the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next is the approval of claims and demands and bills payable. I need a motion to approve claims and demands before we can have,
So moved.
Bender? Thank you.
need a second?
Second.
Second by
Sellers.
Sellers.
Okay.
All right, now the floor is open for
I
questions,
just
yes, ma'am.
have a question. These bills are based on approval of our resolution 2013-16?
Mhm.
Okay. I have some serious questions about that resolution.
I know, we are gonna,
Address it?
yes, so, yes.
All right. Well, until that's addressed, my vote is no on the bills, or not claims and demands at this point.
Understandable. Any questions?
I think we ought to look into the electric bill for this building. I think that's really high.
Okay.
We don't have, I
Didn't we
mean,
do a special electrical
I thought we,
thing,
I
Nikki,
thought we
before
did, yeah.
that was supposed to reduce the
Reduce
cost
the
of that
cost of
bill?
it, yeah. But I think that's awful high for this building. And really, you don't need all these lights on in the building all day long, all night long. Is there,
True.
you know, 365 is quite high.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna compare it with what ours is up at work,
Okay.
with all the stuff we have running, but I know ours isn't a lot more than that. Then I noticed that on the second page,
Mhm.
under Argent Investments, there were rents that were paid yet in November for $250.
Mhm.
When did you lower that to $245?
That was, you mean,
Looks like August.
No, one was August.
One was August, one was November.
Oh,
Yeah.
September, that must have been, let me check the date on that.
Okay.
Because it might have been supposed to have been September because we changed the grant allotment to 245 November 1st.
After the, yeah,
So-
okay.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
okay.
And I also noticed that it looks like the Family Dollar and Save-A-Lot's really up again.
Oh, my
Yes.
goodness, it's
Now-
ridiculous.
Looks
now-
a little
I
ridiculous.
mean, now we're doing food stamps. if you
Now,
look
no,
at
no,
Save-A-Lot.
excuse me. Here's the reason why.
Okay.
Clients are now responsible to put their money where they want to put it. We're no longer doing budgeting for people. We're no longer enabling people. They have to put the money where they want to put it. Now, if they choose to put all their money towards food at Save-A-Lot, so be it. And if you do not put any money on your rent and you get evicted, that's on you, not on us any longer. That's why we're doing
Balance
that.
of the rent,
Exactly.
okay.
so
So they-
we don't give those rent checks directly to
No.
the,
To the clients?
no, the rent checks I thought went directly to the owner of the
They
building.
do.
Absolutely, it
They
does.
do.
It does.
Yeah.
But if they come in and they say they want to use their 245 because they need food, then it goes
That's
to food.
where we put it.
So then they can't come back and say, well, my rent is due and I need some.
Exactly.
But my only thing with that is that now what I can do, what people do with food stamps, I can take you to the store
Exactly.
and give you let you get your food from Save-A-Lot, and then I take the cash money.
Now,
Okay.
here's my thing with this one. We are looking towards, and I'm going to talk with Mike about this, using more of our local pantries for our food. And having intergovernmental agreements with our local pantries.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Because when we got 5, 6, 7?
Yes,
About
Okay.
7.
yes. It's,
Right. That's a lot.
So, this is difficult, to see them spend this kind of money on food
Mhm.
Yeah.
when rent is such a big issue.
Right.
And you want to know something? You're absolutely right, Trustee Martin. And rent should be a big issue to them. It should be.
But they're probably only paying $28 a month at housing, and then they have the balance of the 245, right?
Hmm.
Isn't that,
This doesn't seem
Isn't
right
that
to me.
another grant level?
No.
It used to be where if they were in housing,
What they
only
did?
got
Mhm.
so much.
Yeah.
Did that change?
They did MSC,
Right,
Mhm.
and then shelter expense.
which is we're the only township in the state that ever does that. No one even knows about MSC but Freeport Township.
Okay.
And we were doing MSC for other people who lived in housing, which is illegal to do.
Oh, okay.
So what does
Yes.
MSC stand for? again?
Minimum
Minimum
shelter expense.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
their grant level was
Uh-huh.
only like 75 a
Mhm.
month.
And when we went to 245, we went to a flat grant.
Okay.
There's no such thing as MSE. Actually, it was developed for Freeport Township for housing. But once it spilled over into residential and not just housing, it became illegal.
So tell me the difference between residential and housing.
Well, what I mean by residential is people who don't live in housing.
Housing's grant level is gonna be a lot. The project.
Right.
Well,
So
people that
the
don't live in
project
housing.
versus private
Just-
housing?
mhm.
Right.
And rental properties.
So the projects
Mhm.
versus
Rental properties.
rental.
Yes.
There's Section 8.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yeah, I think
seems
it's-
like we're cutting off our nose
That's-
despite our face here.
Yeah,
Actually, we're not. Actually, we're not. And since we're talking, I'm gonna give you a little bit information. Over the last 2 weeks, we only had 2 intakes. 2. That's it.
wish we could say that.
That's it. Because the work and training program is really catching fire. We had 10.
I gotta do
We
something.
sent out 10 letters for people to come for orientation for the work and training program. 3 showed up, 7 were terminated instantly.
Good.
Now word is out.
The word is out.
Works out.
Right.
It's good.
Good.
So I understand your concerns, but we are
On our way.
on our way. We're handling things pretty well.
And it's getting cold.
Yes.
Heck
They don't want to.
So what do we do with a client that comes in and has spent their allotment, has no place to live? They just have to,
That's the choice they
That's
made.
their
They gotta
choice.
wing it.
That's the
they
choice.
have to
Go to the shelter.
shelter up with
Yeah.
somebody else
Yes,
or
ma'am.
until till the next month. And then they make that decision all over again, whether, how they want their grant, whether they want it for food or whether they want it for,
These are going to be mandated for every client to give to their caseworker starting next week.
And don't they have a 90-day suspension?
Yes, they do.
When they don't
We're
do
not
that.
sure. So they had 90 days to think
Yes.
about how
Right.
they're gonna pay their.
So they got
Absolutely.
cold winter.
So-
Cold winter.
And you're assisting them in educating them on the budgeting
Absolutely.
process.
Yes.
And what probably is the most important would be
Absolutely.
your roof over your head.
So
Absolutely.
if you
So-
choose to spend your money on food or get your money in cash from somebody and live good and think you're gonna come back and say, well, I don't have any, see, and that's maybe some of them's mentality.
Right.
They think,
Right.
well, I used it, but I'm gonna go back and say, I ain't got nowhere to stay. They're gonna have to pay for me somewhere to stay.
but if we're teaching them budgeting, like you say, then it wouldn't all go into, Family Dollar or.
Exactly.
Right, it wouldn't, but they haven't started yet. It starts Monday.
Exactly.
Oh, they haven't started
Yeah,
the process.
right. It starts Monday.
Okay, so we're hoping to see somewhat of a turnaround
We will see a
once,
turnaround.
once they realize
will.
they have to budget their money for rent and food
And,
and
and,
work.
and I'm going to tell you something. I know it sounds harsh, but what it boils down to is we're dealing with adults
Accountability.
and they have to be accountable. We can no longer afford to budget for adults. No one budgets for us.
But they have to go through training,
They'll be trained.
budget training.
Mhm.
That's what that
They're
is.
getting
Mickey,
that.
we did this years ago
I
when we had the
know.
fish program.
I know.
And I did that at pads every night,
I know.
7 nights a week.
So
And
now-
there's very few that would continue it. Probably in the end, I might have had 5.
But I guess I get concerned that there's more corruption possibilities when they take it all for food, because we know what they do for food.
Yeah, right.
If we pay the rent, we know they can't corrupt that, because we
Right.
know that goes to the, so, I'm just concerned that we're dealing with people who are not making good decisions
Mhm.
and who have a history of not making good decisions. And so we're stringing them out there for something that, hey, I like this, I can get more money out of it.
Actually, we're not
Yeah.
stringing
I
them
don't,
at all.
I don't really think so, because I think that eventually either you're going to be so behind on your rent that either you're gonna leave and go back wherever, but these are choices. We all have choices in our life. And you know that this money is supposed to be for, this is all you get. And if you choose to spend all yours on food, that's what you choose to do. But I don't think it's going to be, eventually, even some of these same ones, if you don't have the mindset to say, I'm gonna spend my money on rent, you're not gonna wanna work. So eventually, they might even be off the program anyway. So, I mean, it's all going to speak for itself. So,
And you
How
can't
often
tell
will they
me-
do budget counseling?
We'll do budget counseling every 2 weeks.
They have to come every 2 weeks
Yeah.
then?
Yes.
So what
Yes.
about the people, if we haven't done this yet, and we're giving them this choice, isn't that like putting the cart before the horse?
Absolutely not. Because what it boils down to, when we went to 245, it eliminated MSC.
Right.
There's, you are now a flat grant, period. And with a flat grant, period, they have a choice of where they want to put their money. Now, if we would have continued to do what we were doing, we would need more staff. We were overstaffed because we were doing budgeting and budgeting everybody's thing, down to the wire. We can't afford to do that any longer.
So we can't any longer interview a client and find out what the rent is, what this is, what that is, what all
Oh,
these
that's,
things are.
that's gonna be done in intake, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They still have to
Yeah,
have a
It's an intake.
Still do that.
recommendation sheet.
Okay.
They still have to do that, but they have to come in and be in a responsible, I mean, you have to grow up sooner or later.
But when they come in with their bills, they're gonna come in with their bills with this filled out, where they want everything at. So when they come to us and say, well, my rent isn't paid, and what am I supposed to do? Well, we have a whole list here of where you wanted all of your stuff to go.
So are they gonna get guidance in budgeting process when they come in like this and say, what am I supposed to do?
Yes, we'll give them guidance. That's what the budgeting class is, guidance.
And that started, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
And you can't tell me that if a single person, I don't eat myself $200 worth of food
Right.
in a month.
Yeah, that's a lot of food.
Yeah.
But that's what most of them get.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
what I
most of them
mean.
get is 200, so
Yeah.
why would you be spending all the rest of this?
Because they can take a friend to the
245.
store.
Well,
and get
exactly, that's
cash.
what I said.
That's
So
why it's
still.
imperative that we make the connections with the pantries in town.
I think that's a good idea.
So if you make the connections with the pantries, then they don't get the Family Dollar stuff anymore?
They'll get Family Dollar because that's personal and household items. They need that.
Yeah,
But as far as
food
food,
stamps doesn't cover that.
Right. Food stamps don't even cover that.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
we can't control when they go to Family Dollar what they're gonna buy, can we?
yeah, personal household items will be on the voucher. Now it has food and personal household items. Just be household items on the voucher.
Okay, okay. So right now, it's food and household.
Mhm.
Once we connect with the pantries, it's just gonna be household.
Yes.
Okay.
And the same thing with the purchase orders, don't they have like a little clause for rent? Client is responsible for any additional
Right,
rent.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they take these vouchers to Family Dollar.
Mhm.
And so the poor gal that's checking them out is gonna have to know what's food and what's household.
They're doing it right now anyway.
Yeah,
That's not hard to figure out.
Well,
They're
if
doing it
they're
right now.
doing, if they're doing food and household, that's one thing, but then all of a sudden, if they're just doing household, then they have to do another, another look to what the client has.
You know, honestly,
And the client.
they're gonna thank us for just doing household.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
They're gonna thank us.
Especially when the diabetics go.
And now,
high
because
sugar and-
now they're questioning, well, is pet food considered food? So now there's no question, no food period, just personal household items.
And that was even on one of the stipulations.
On the vouchers, no pet food.
Yeah, no cigarettes, no.
Yep.
I think it's a good idea, and I think it needs a little time to absorb into these people's lives, because, like you said, people have to start being responsible. We do the same thing with our children. We start trying to teach them to be responsible, and eventually, if they don't get it, they'll never get it, and, you know, we can't.
But what
They don't
happened
get it,
is,
they never get it,
Right.
and we're in trouble.
No, they're in trouble.
Why do you
That's what I
think these
think.
people are coming here?
what goes on now is that
More than
Chose a
we
different
are.
path.
this is gonna help even free up more time for our professionals to do house visits, home visits. And we're gonna require home visits. Well, we're doing
Visits
that.
are gonna be required?
Yes, we're gonna require
How
home
soon?
visits. Well, as soon as we can get all of our ducks in a row here and get us some extra time, that'll probably be probably by the first of the year, if at all possible. By the first of the year, if we can.
And so what are we gonna accomplish by the home visits? Just to
Oh.
verify?
To verify who's actually living there, as opposed to, let's say, you're staying in a house and there's a bunch of people there getting Township. Make sure people aren't sleeping on the floor, aren't sleeping in the hallways and on stairs. You know, so we need to
Do you have
be
to let them
inside.
know that you're coming, or is it just like, hello?
I have to talk to Mike about that.
When we used to do it, we didn't, they just.
Talk to
went.
Mike about that one.
2 people from the office used to just go and do it. They didn't know when they were coming.
Good.
Just like with probation, they draw your color, you go down.
Yep.
Mhm,
Mhm.
yeah.
You right. It's
So,
good.
Well, I'm just a little bit concerned about the budgeting process, you know, because I know some people just don't get it. And maybe it's not always all their fault, they don't get it. We do have people out there, you know, who have some learning problems.
Mhm, and
things. But what they do know, it's amazing,
Mhm.
what they do
Right.
know is that if they get food money, they can manipulate it.
Yeah, well,
Right, they know a lot more than what you think they know.
Well, they know the street stuff.
Yes,
but
they
they
do.
don't
And this
know-
right here is street stuff.
They don't know the
But-
practical
but-
stuff.
And all of this is street stuff.
but I'm gonna tell you something.
They know
I'm
more than we
almost
know.
willing to bet the farm that we get a connection with the Salvation Army's food pantry. They won't be over there doing that type of stuff. Now I can't say what they're doing at Save-A-Lot. They may have some with them, may pick the food out, they may do that.
So if they go to
There's the
Salvation
pantries.
Army, is it like shopping?
No,
It's all
no.
the
It's
boxes are
all
all made.
boxed and
together
given
for
to
what?
them.
Yeah.
And will it have a value on it, so if they need food,
It's
then
supposed to be 3 to 5 days, you're supposed to have 3 to 5 days worth of food in there.
worth of food in there? So it'll be based on days rather than amounts of money, which they're getting now for food, or how is that gonna
Yeah, we
translate?
actually, I can't tell you right offhand what the actual amount that they say is one of the pantries.
Yeah.
All the pantries are about alike,
Yeah,
3 to 5
yeah,
days.
I would
Yeah.
assume so.
But we're gonna work the logistics out.
Well, now, do the churches who have pantries be part of this process?
It could be, yeah.
Because I know a lot of churches get snockered into,
We have
Giving
seven.
A
extra
lot of the
food.
churches just do for their own
yeah,
people too, yeah.
but,
So can you double dip? Go to the,
They can go to all 7 of them in a month's time.
They
Except
quadruple
FACC, you
dip.
can only go once every 2 months there.
where?
The rest of, FACC
Okay.
is once every 2 months.
Oh.
The rest of the pantries, all, you can go once a month, once every 30 days, yeah.
That's good.
but like you
Okay.
said, Nikki, if they come to Salvation Army and they get 2 or 3 days of food, does that mean they can come the next week? or
No,
2, 3
no.
days?
It's once every 30 days.
Once every 30
Mhm.
days?
Yeah.
We have how many pantries inside the city of Freeport?
Seven.
There's 6 or 7, that new church, what is it, First something? It's gonna open Glicks.
Yeah, Faith Center.
So,
Faith
so
Center,
they, just so I understand
They've
this,
been-
so they could go to 7 different places in a month?
Uh-huh.
And they probably
They're doing
are.
it anyway.
They used
The
to
more
actually
the
go to
merrier.
German Valley, but German Valley stopped
And Lena.
Freeport from coming.
And Lena, I
And
remember
I
they used
talked
to
to
go to
Lena today, and they're gonna go down to zip codes too. If you don't live in that zip code,
Yeah.
then you don't come. And we don't do, I mean, we still do Orangeville, right at, we haven't come from Forest and,
Now, there's no restrictions when the semi comes from Rockford, is there?
no, well, Stevenson County.
Stevenson
Anybody
County.
from Stevenson
Okay,
County, yeah.
okay.
So Floreston is in a different county,
Mhm,
right?
yeah, but we're the closest
Oh,
pantry
okay.
to them, so we do. We actually are, to do Joe Davis County too.
Really?
Mhm, they've asked us to do that.
Oh my
So
God.
we do, we don't have a lot of them from there though. Just have a few.
Well, I like the idea that we're trying to make the clients more self-sufficient. But on the other hand, I sort of feel like they're getting into a situation where they can manipulate what they're getting more. But maybe, like you said, Mr. Sellers, maybe in the long run that won't happen. But in the short run, I have some concerns.
Okay.
Keeping them on a tighter leash, you know, they don't have as many.
They don't like that.
Variables as they used to.
And you'll find in the budgeting also that they don't want to share what they do with their money. That was one of the hardest things, was that really isn't any of your business. I'm like, yeah, I have to put it down here. But yeah, there were a lot of them that just wouldn't even talk to you,
And then they're done.
who actually were taken off of the fish program then at that time.
Oh,
But
really?
they did, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's a challenge then to the budgeting process, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be a challenge. I just have one question on here, on all these bills for Barbara Burns. Or room for Patrick Sellers. Wondering what's going on here.
You guys couldn't have us longer for it.
That was our conference in Springfield.
Yes.
Yeah, she put it on her credit card.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
said, does she snore?
Yes.
She does, okay.
I do.
I
And
did
I
too.
told, I warned her,
As a sailor.
I did, I warned her.
Are there any more questions on claims and demands?
I don't have it.
Okay,
You want me to call the roll?
please, clerk, call the roll.
Bender,
Aye.
Aldensee,
Aye.
Sellers,
Aye.
Martin,
No, until we resolve the line items.
Sellers.
Aye.
Okay, it passes 4-1.
All right. The approval of Resolution TR 2013-16 regarding line item budget transfers. I think I'll hand this over to you, Mike, so you can, let the
This is
trustees
a
know.
resolution that was drafted by our outside counsel, Greg Polini, and having to do with the question that we've been discussing the last couple of months, trying to balance the line items that have been exceeded. After I read it, I gave Mr. Polini a call, and we had some discussion, and it turned out to be that he asked us to withdraw this at this time because there's some more information that he wasn't aware of at the time he drafted it. Because the way it's phrased, it didn't make any, I was confused by it. So he said, yes, we need to rewrite this, and what he actually, and I said, shouldn't this really be an ordinance? He goes, well, if you want to make it an ordinance, you can. But we need to have more detail and more information, and it's just kind of a little bit not transparent, so I agreed with him that it needed to be withdrawn, and we'll bring you back, actually probably an ordinance to amend the budget, and we're gonna lay it over,
Good.
have it introduced and redo it, and one of the things, and so we're gonna do it right, and so it's gonna, we'll bring it, I'm gonna be working with Liz, who's volunteered to work on it, and we'll try to bring it back to you for your next meeting.
Very good. I would agree. This just wasn't transparent and was not one that I felt, was accountable to the taxpayer at all. So thank you very much for that.
I have a question, Mike.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the difference between an ordinance and a resolution?
An ordinance is a form of local law that's supposed to be permanent in nature, as opposed to a resolution, which usually a body uses to express its opinion or to approve a contract or something like that, or the change of policy, where it's a temporary change, intended to be temporary until further change. An ordinance is usually intended to be, is more like a statute, it's permanent.
Okay. Well, it's like when we budget and appropriate our money at the beginning of the year, that is done by ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
And that's a
You know.
higher form of law than a
Yes,
resolution.
right,
You
right.
go ordinance, on a local level, you go ordinance, resolution, motion,
Yeah.
okay? So when you're gonna change this thing, you better change it with one like it, like an ordinance, rather than
Yeah.
trying to change an ordinance with a resolution.
Okay,
So that's one of the reasons I said, we should really be, he goes, yeah, that's fine, you can do that.
okay,
Yep,
thank you.
that's really, thank you.
Next on the agenda is a supervisor's report, which I think I reported already. So we'll go on to the assessor's report.
Okay, the only thing I'll share is the board review has started to meet. They met last Tuesday was the first day. We'll meet again Wednesday morning. I do believe we're gonna try to get through the bulk of our hearings this week. So that way, in particular, those that have requested hearings, those that have appealed, that way they can get their 7 days notice and then they'll schedule. I'm presuming we'll have hearings with the public the first week of December. So that was that info. Mike, do we have a contract?
We have
You-
I have the signed document from Mr.
Mr.
McConnell.
Good, because he stopped in my office. And I
There
didn't
was
know.
the only thing when I said it needed to be a change, the word landlord was misspelled in one spot.
Right,
So
That's
all I'm
okay.
gonna do is I'm gonna add a D, and I don't think he'll object to that. But he had already signed it.
okay, because he came.
He was
in
supposed to
on
bring you the original.
my- No, I have not seen it.
Well, at least
That's
we
okay.
have a signed copy from him
And
here.
then Patrick. has
Patrick
it.
will sign it.
Okay,
Instead of doing a modification of the agreement, he asked that we do just a simple document entitled Notice of Exercise of Option to to extend lease for 1 year. And this is and he waived the requirement that they receive notice in 120 days in advance. So we just do a simple saying, we're gonna extend it on the same terms as stated in the agreement for a period of 1 year, beginning on 12:01 a.m. local time, December 1, 2013, and continuing until 11:59 p.m. local time on November 30th, 2014. And this is for the assessor's office in the 524 West Stevenson Street building here in Freeport.
Then my other that I'm passing out is, actually, you might be short.
No, I'm fine.
You got one for everyone?
I think so. Is it?
No, give off my copy.
There's two
Otherwise,
right
I've
there.
got one more here. You got it?
Fine, I'll look at mine.
Here,
Um,
take mine. I use purple.
Oh, you do?
We were kind of, for me, going to school, come back and share. Out of the classes that I took, the one that piqued my interest the most was QuickBooks. And I just presenting to you why QuickBooks, the information that they provided. And the first thing they presented is that it provides your data quickly and, more importantly, accurately. Your second sheet is kind of a checklist, and you'll see that it's a comparison between QuickBooks, which Supervisor Sauerler's put into place and Liz is using. The S's versus the old accounting system, which is very intriguing. It does so much for you so readily and so easily. The budget planning, the creation, the tracking, using the proper data to show fiscal responsibility. None of the attributes of QuickBooks were available in our old accounting system. And in fact, the old accounting system allowed things that shouldn't have gone on that did go on. So in QuickBooks, you don't have those flexibilities. It's going to do your accounting in a proper fashion. So I was just intrigued, and I asked, the one question for me was, when did they do their first conversion for their township? And their first conversion was 1997.
Wow.
So QuickBooks has been in place for township government for a very long time. And one of the key things is that it's easy. It creates wonderful graphs, pictures worth 1,000 words, so you can see what it's doing right away. There's simplistic buttons, as I was speaking with Liz, it'll give you a picture right away of your financial, how you're doing financially with your expenditures versus what's budgeted. And the creation, for me, and I'm thinking of purchasing this just for my office, and that's for the history. You can go back and it'll provide you history comparisons, which I used to do out of the simplified Excel version that I created for my office. But this is designed to do everything, and it's at your fingertips. It makes everything so clear and easy. And the feature of documentation, of scanning it to a specific invoice. I was really pleased with the class, and it has been around for a very long time. And when I started to do the comparison between our old system versus this, I'm excited that we switched. So that's one of the classes that I took that had my most interest.
Cindy, just a question. You said it shows with a button expenditures to what's budgeted. Could that, instead of just a list of what we're paying, could the expenditures to what's budgeted be part of the bills?
Are you asking for a picture, a graph?
No.
No.
You said expenditures to what's budgeted. In other words, what we budgeted and appropriated in those line items, are we able to see?
That's a view for the fiscal officer. I'd have to defer to you whether or not that's a printable.
I mean, it would give you like whatever line that you're looking at, you can.
No, let's, example, we passed a budget. It's budgeted and it's appropriated and it's now an ordinance. So my discomfort with what I've been seeing with the QuickBooks is that I don't have a good feel for what we budgeted versus what we're spending. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
I mean, there are reports within QuickBooks that would give you that information.
Yeah.
For each line.
Is it possible to have more of that information with the claims and demands? I'd be more comfortable voting on the claims and demands if I knew where we were with, you know, our budget versus what we're spending.
I mean, it won't show on that report, like the report that for the claims and demands is the only line items, it's a bills payroll report, so that's the only information that you're gonna get on that report. There are other reports that I can pull that would show.
The line items and what's coming out
Yes.
of the line items.
Yes.
Yeah, I would be much more comfortable seeing that, you know, than just this. I just get really uncomfortable because I don't know where we are when it simply says we spent this much money here.
You wanna know what the balances are once we.
Yeah, I'd kind
Well,
of like to know.
just to interject on that one, I don't believe in any of our bills payable or claims and demands, whatever. We never saw a balance, Mickey.
Yeah,
We,
we
no, you
saw the
didn't.
line item, we saw the line item. We
You're
knew
s-
how much was in that line item because every other month we would get a budget comparison. So we knew where we were.
And
know.
you are getting the budget comparisons now. This structure.
Not by line item, not by line item. Not by what's been budgeted and appropriated.
I guess where I differ with your thinking is, you basically wanna see, a specific line item next to Wagner office.
No. I just
Okay.
want to see what's been budgeted and appropriated against what we're spending.
And that comes in the monthly budget comparisons, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Do we get a monthly budgeting comparisons?
You
'Cause
have been,
I've only gotten one.
one or two.
I've gotten one.
Yeah. Because the one was for 5 months, if I'm not mistaken. Correct.
I've gotten one.
Right. So
That's
we
all
should
I've
be
got.
getting one in December,
Okay.
so.
And are those the line items that were budgeted and appropriated? Are those the
Yeah, you'd have to
same?
go back and look, I do believe they are. I
Okay.
believe the budget comparison she did show the line items as
That
they
were
were
budgeted and appropriated?
Mhm.
Okay,
Right.
okay. I will go back and check.
I just wanted to comment, I took QuickBooks out at Highland last year, and it was like the easiest program I think I've ever taken compared to when I did payroll at Freeport Clinic. It was, you know, you couldn't make a mistake because the system would not balance it out until it was right.
That's it.
Okay. Next on the agenda is trustees report. Trustees?
Just a question. I went back through our training manual, and I think at a meeting or so before, Michael, you said we didn't have to file a treasurer's report, that we could use the audit. And I went back and it said, financial report and audit would go to the comptroller's office.
Controller's office, yeah.
Yeah.
What I was talking about was the issue of whether, there's a new statute that came out last year or the year before. We used to have to publish in the local newspaper a financial report, not send down to the controller's office. I'm talking about putting an ad in the paper detailing all the information. And what they did is they changed the state statute that says instead of putting that ad in the newspaper, you can just put a notice in the newspaper that if you have a financial audit, only if you have a financial audit done by outside auditors, that's on file and available for public inspection.
Okay.
I wasn't talking about sending things down to the controller's office.
Okay, so we still have to have a financial report sent to the comptroller's office within 180 days.
Whatever the period of time is.
Yeah, it says 180 days from
Yeah,
the end of the fiscal year.
I believe you, I haven't looked at it, Lisa, but the statute I was talking about was talking about putting the thing in the newspaper. It wasn't
Yeah.
talking about the.
Well,
control.
now, the city of Freeport did, the school district did, And we did for years.
But we didn't last year or the year before. Mike is correct. It changed and it saved us a lot of money.
But we had to have something on file
Right.
with,
We have an annual audit though.
Right.
We always have an annual
yeah,
audit.
but
on
we had to
file.
have something on file with, the
Judy
office of the comptroller.
Judy Topeka's office, she
Yeah.
just had a press conference about that last week.
Yeah,
Because she has a new statewide website
yes,
to compare local units of government.
yes,
And she said from certain governmental units, not us, she was having trouble getting some of the reports.
right.
So I know there's certain requirements that our auditors take care of that normally. I don't usually get involved with that, but I know what you're talking about. Because she was talking about that during her press conference I saw.
So is there a copy available of what we sent to the comptroller?
I don't know who sent it to. I'm sure it's the financial audit you guys got. Yeah, it's the one that all the board members, that's normally what you would send out.
The,
The
I'm.
black thing from Whipfly?
Yes, yes, but they're saying a special financial report and audit. They're not saying that it's the same, they're saying it's different.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know what the state, the legal
I'll
staff
find
doesn't get
it, I'll
involved.
find it and send it to you, Michael, because that was in our training that we had
Okay,
for new trustees.
sounds
And
good.
it surprised me because I thought it was financial or audit, but it's definitely financial report and audit. And I'll find it, because I just went through that this weekend.
I'm just looking at the Whipfly audit. I just was looking for that and it may be the same document, I'm not sure, but I'll look at it. Once I find it, I'll be happy to look for it.
Okay. Okay, and I'll just send you, you know, what that said, because to me, it was two different ones, not the same one.
Okay, and I'm not sure who sent, what actual officer puts it in the mail and sends it down. I'll have to find that out.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, because I'd like to see that copy.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Any other business?
Just one thing, if, most of you have nothing to do, on Friday, December 13th, at 5 o'clock, we'll be packing over 500 boxes, at the Salvation Army, so we need some help. So if anybody, yes? I can put your name down, good, Barb, good.
I have to see.
And bring your friends. We've got a lot of Boy Scouts coming, ROTC and places like that, so, thank you.
That's a Friday.
I know it is Friday the 13th. So I'm like, oh, Friday the 13th.
We're sending people
Everybody's
down.
calling, I hate to say that.
We're sending people down also.
Okay, you're gonna send some, okay.
Sending
Thank
some
you.
clients down also.
Are we on other?
Yes.
Okay.
Other business.
I'm going to, under other, I want to just go over what I learned down at Springfield. The other thing that was went to board practices and procedures. One of the things that they said, because your email, anything to do with township, your email is subject to FOIA and Open Meetings Act. So it is best if we all have our own email through the township and not use our personal email for township business, because if somebody does want to question what we do, all those communications, in fact, if two county board members are emailing each other back and forth or texting back and forth, that is subject to the Open Meetings Act.
Even if they're using their own personal.
Yes, yes.
Not true. Not
That's
correct.
what, I'm sorry, I'm
That's
just
mis-
telling you what they said.
That's a mistake.
Didn't they say that, Cindy? Were you there? Were you on that one? Okay. Because there was a case,
I know the case very well. It's a City
Okay.
of Champaign case. Fred Stevens was the attorney, City of Champaign. He's a friend of mine. What you said is basically true, but it's overly broad. If you're talking about public business, it's not an Open Meetings Act violation because it's not a majority of a quorum. What you're talking about is it may be that may be
FOIA.
subject to Freedom of Information
FOIA.
Act. And so, I mean, but it has to be about public business that is pending before the board
Yep.
or about to come before the board. Because I recently asked a question of the head of the Public Access Council's office. They had previously said, what if one of their attorneys had given an opinion that if something came up to you and asked them about something that had happened 6 months ago and was all over, whether answering that question would be a violation. He said, yes, that would be a violation because that's public business. Well, no, it has to be currently before the board or imminently coming before the board. If they're gonna ask you about something you did last year, you know, and you're texting back and forth, that's not gonna be a violation.
Well, I
just wanna be
specifically
clear on
asked that question, Mike, about that, and everybody up there in that panel, and this was an attorney, that said it didn't matter what it was, if it's township business, it's subject to FOIA.
Okay.
So, I'm just telling you what they told me. So, anyway, I just wanted to let you know about the email situation, that, you know, they really strongly suggested that we use township email for all of our email businesses and not use our personal. But that's something that
Is that
we all have.
township staff that doesn't spill over to elected officials, or should elected officials have?
I'm talking elected officials. I don't care about staff. I'm talking
Just
elected
doesn't-
officials.
Oh, elected
You should have,
officials.
all of us should have our own township email, and we should be communicating through that township
Township
email
email.
and not our personal, because it is open to the FOIA to be,
For the last 15 years, I've told Cedarville that, and what they've done is, they don't want to get an email program for the, so they just passed, every email goes through the village clerk. There's no directly communications.
Between or among?
Or between or among the village trustees. So if there's a question, the village clerk has copies of all of them, but that wouldn't stop the Public Access Council from coming in and trying to have the court seize your personal computer.
Right.
Or,
Right.
or go to your
telephone.
telephone company and try to get the contents of, the reason this all came up, the newly elected mayor of Champaign during a city council meeting was similar to a teenager who's like this underneath the meeting, the whole meeting, texting. And I mean, all the council members had, this is what Fred told me, so all the council members had computers right in front of them. Nobody cared about that. The fact that he wasn't even looking up at the meeting, he was down here texting the entire meeting. The reporter wanted to know, is he texting the village, the city council members on how to vote? So, and that's what started that whole lawsuit and went up on appeal. So we've been talking about it at the Home Rule Attorneys Committee for a long time and following the case carefully. So it's got to be very, I've told Cedarville this for years, you got to be careful whenever, don't get in chat rooms with other people talking about it. Don't be emailing it. You know, but if you're going to do it, because if it's contemporaneously, they can start making an argument. You're having a meeting, even if you can be in Southampton, England, you can be in Australia, and somebody else could be in Brazil. But if they're all on the emails going back and forth, and it's one right after another, they can claim that amounts also to a meeting. Then you got an Open Meetings Act violation.
They did explain that too. They did.
So
yeah.
that's a real hot
That's-
topic we've been working on
right.
for the last 10 years.
And that's, and the same thing with Facebook, you gotta be careful what you put on Facebook.
So what's the recommendation?
The
for
recommendation is that
elected
we
officials?
all get our email address through Township. And we communicate Township stuff only on that email address and not use our personal one.
So like, minutes and agendas?
It
and
would go through
blah,
the
blah, blah.
email, she would be sending it through the email, the Township email, like what you do now, right? But it would, instead of going to your home, it would go through your email account through Township. Will Comcast accommodate 4 more email addresses?
Actually, that's been a thought anyway. We are going to have our email addresses connected to our website. Everyone will have it connected that way. So it'll be Mickey Martin at freeporttownship.org. That'll be your web address. We're working on getting everybody email addresses.
So that'll
we need a
solve
little
that problem.
training on that once that
Yeah.
gets set up. Okay, okay.
So that'll solve that problem, but that was a big thing that they emphasized, but.
Because that's what they do at the school district, you know, exactly what they
Send
do.
it to me in the
Yeah.
mail.
So it's more uniform.
Piece of advice is please never ever hit the reply to all button.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
don't
that's
do
the other
that.
thing.
Stay away from that
That's the
button.
other thing.
Yeah.
You
I do
never
remember
hit reply all
Yeah.
when you
Because
communicate,
then
because
it is
then
a
you're open,
FOIA,
you Open
yes.
Meetings
Then
Act
it's-
issue, and then it's
Then it's
subject to
open.
FOIA. So you never reply all.
Right.
You do CC yourself if you want to.
Yeah, I do that occasionally.
But you never hit reply all,
No.
because then you are violating the
Then
Open
you're in
Meetings Act.
violation.
So, that's all I have to tell you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Next on the agenda is public comment. Anyone from the public have any public comments? Okay. Please,
Is Barb, can I say? I live at 2546 Stevenson Circle.
We gotta be able to see you.
I remembered something last year that happened in the city of Freeport where they had moved the electricity bill, they changed it somehow, and it was gonna go through another company and then ComEd, unless you chose to opt out. If Township did not choose to opt out, their bill has gone up. I chose to opt out. Some of the people that I know didn't choose to opt out, and their electric bills went way up. So everybody, like in my family, we talked about that, and we all opted out. So I would find out if Township opted out. If Township did not opt out, it's time to check into that and take it off of that program.
But I don't think we as a government entity had that option.
I don't
Yeah, we
know,
did.
but
Yeah,
it's
we
something to
did.
check into.
Marna, I know Marna, can you speak to that? Didn't you and Sheila?
We're
Look
supposed
into
to have
that.
a reduced rate, but there was a problem at the time that it was changed. You'll see the bills going down, as of, this is November. It should have gone down in October, but I've gotta double check on that.
Because I knew you had met about it and talked about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's referring to Municipal Electrical Aggregation Program,
Oh.
which is only one part of your electric bill.
No.
It's the supply, not the delivery. ComEd still delivers the, instead of buying the supply from ComEd, they chose to go to a contract with another entity.
Is that Spark Energy or
I
something
don't
like
know,
that?
the First Energy, I think.
Yeah, first.
Because Cedarville went with Rock River, oh, I don't know who we went with, I can't remember, but anyways, that's, and they bid that out, and it can change every now and then, so, and it is true for all residential and small business. So whether the township qualifies as a small business, then they could participate in the program, but a big industry like Honeywell, or Kelly's, or Titan, I should say, they couldn't because they don't qualify as a small business.
Supervisor Sellers, I'll follow up on that.
okay. Any more public comment? Need a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
One question before you do that. Our adjournment is Monday, December what?
Second, December 2nd.
December 2nd.
How did we race so fast into December?
I don't know.
Wow.
That has been
Yes.
Who made the motion to,
I did.
who seconded it?
Need a second.
Second.
Sellers?
Motion by Sellers, second by
Okay.
Bender. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?